Council uses the consent agenda to consider items that are non-controversial and routine. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the council. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a council member or citizen with the consent of council. The consent agenda contains the following items. Item 1, asphalt paving program for 2018-2019. This is to award the award of the contract to Lynch's River Contracting, Inc. in the amount of $1,391,303.50 and to provide a contingency in the amount of $50,000 to cover any possible change orders. And sufficient funds are budgeted to cover these expenses. Item 2, a call for public hearings to be held on October 2nd, 2018. Sale and disposal of city-owned land located at 306 Charles Street with development conditions. This is to convey the property for economic development purposes and meet the conditions of North Carolina General Statute Section 158-7.1. Sale and disposal of city-owned land located at 106-108 Meyer Street with development conditions. This is to convey the property for economic development purposes and meet the conditions of North Carolina General Statute Section 158-7.1. Item C, zoning map amendment request to rezone property located along Seacrest Price Road from Conditional District Seacrest Place to Conditional District Redwood Monroe, and text amendment request to amend codes of ordinances Title 15, Land Usage Chapter 156, Zoning Code Section 156.98, titled Conditional Districts Established, and Section 156.106, titled Official Zoning Map. Item 3, certification of tax base and tax charge for 2018-2019. This authorizes the mayor to approve an order authorizing the tax collector to collect taxes charged in the tax records. The total tax levy for 2018-2019 is $20,149,538.77. Charlotte Monroe Executive Airport Water Main Extension. This is the award of contract to Fortiline Waterworks in the amount of $253,076. There are sufficient funds budgeted to cover the expense. The Senior Center roof, this is to award the contract to Waneco Roofing. This is formerly the EJ building being renovated for the Senior Center. The contract is in the amount of $301,295, and sufficient funds are budgeted for this expense. Minutes and reports. Item 6, we have the financial reports for August 2018. As of June 30th, 2018, the total fund balance was $28,603,026. Our city's fund balance, according to policy, is $10,106,092. Formal assigned fund balance is $1,838,868, and our unassigned fund balance is $5,239,166. Items B through E are 4 sets of minutes, and item F is summary of contracts awarded, change orders approved, and city manager's settlement of claims. We have 32 contracts awarded for the period totaling $167,954, and there are no settlement claims to report. Pedestrian and bicycle enhancements for U.S. Highway 74. Part A, we have a 10-foot multi-use path and 8-foot sidewalk. This will be NCDOT. It's part of the widening project of US 74 from 4 to 6 lanes between Dickerson and Rocky River Road. And then we also have some other improvements at US 74 and Seacrest Shortcut. The project is scheduled for right-of-way in 2019 and construction in 2021. Basically, the estimated cost for this are $360,000, and there are sufficient funds through Powell bill for this project. And also with that, there'll be an ordinance amending our standard specifications and detail manuals. That's related to the sidewalk. Water and sewer capacity fees. We have an ordinance to amend fees, Chapter 12, Water and Sewer, Article 3, Capacity Fees, Section 1, Capacity Fee Schedule for new or expanded development, and we have a budget amendment. This modifies our fee schedule and a budget amendment related to capacity fee collections to accommodate House Bill 826. Basically, capacity is committed at the time the service application is filed, and procedurally we have capacity fees are collected in the Water and Sewer Operational Fund, then they are transferred to Capital Reserve. So, Mayor, that's the items for the consent agenda.
Move we approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. We'll go into the regular agenda. Item 9 is a zoning map amendment request. Your own property located off John Moore Road. This is a public hearing. Excuse me.
Good evening, I'm Carrie Mendler with the Planning Department. Tonight I'm presenting a zoning map amendment request by Scott Merritt for the property located at the corner of John Moore Road and Hickory Grove Drive. The applicant is proposing to rezone the subject property from R20 residential low density to conditional district Dogwood Forest in order to develop 21 single-family residential lots. The land surrounding the parcel, which is highlighted in blue, is currently used for single-family uses as well. The subject property is currently zoned R20, residential low density. The adjoining zoning surrounding this parcel is also zoned R20. This pink up to the north is general business, which is along Highway 74, and this red is a conditional district. The property is currently 7.52 acres. The applicant is proposing 21 single-family lots ranging in size from 8,000 square feet to 12,900 square feet. The density is 2.79 units per acre. The development will have just over 2 acres of open space, which is 26.7% of the overall site. Landscaping will be provided behind lots 15 and 21, as well as around and in between the stormwater features. The applicant is proposing that trees be planted 40 foot on center for a total of at least 38 trees. All trees will be planted 22 feet behind the curb, and a note has been provided so that each lot will have at least 1 tree at the time of a certificate of occupancy being issued. Just to clarify, those trees that I'm referring to are these internal trees. The number of lots and the width of the right-of-way, sidewalks were not required and are not being proposed. It should be noted that there are no sidewalks on John Moore Road or in the adjoining neighborhood. The developer is proposing homes with a minimum of 1,800 square feet of heated floor area. The proposed exterior building materials will include fiber cement, cedar shingles, stone, stucco, brick, and/or vinyl. If vinyl is used, it must be a high-quality vinyl that is at least 0.044 inches thick. The vinyl must also have a backing material. It must be heat-resistant with UV reflective additives and must be wind-resistant. If vinyl is used, 25% of the front facade must include fiber cement, brick, stone, or stucco. Each home will have a 2-car garage that will have ornamentation and/or windows or other detailing, such as hardware to mimic a carriage-style garage. And each driveway will also be paved with concrete and will be able to accommodate at least 2 vehicles. As far as the neighborhood notification, staff did post the property and sent letters to the property owners within 150 feet of the subject property 10 days prior to the public hearing. Staff did receive 2 phone calls seeking general information, 1 walk-in customer who had general questions and also expressed concerns regarding the stormwater runoff, and 1 email where a citizen asked for the site plan. As far as the land development plan consistency, the land development plan indicates this area is suburban. While residential uses typically take the form of neighborhoods with uniform housing types and densities, a mix of housing types and lot sizes is preferred in suburban locations. And the density for suburban residential is 2 to 4 units per acre. The planning board did recommend approval of the rezoning from R20 residential low density to conditional dogwood forest. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant is here tonight as well.
What was it you said about the sidewalks? I want to be sure I heard that.
Based on the lots that are served in the cul-de-sac, sidewalks are not being proposed or required for this
What I
development.
thought I had read earlier, what I thought I heard you say. And I heard you say something because it wasn't any on John Moore Road.
I'm sorry?
Did you all say because, did you use the word because there are not any on John Moore Road?
No, it has to do with the number of lots served with the cul-de-sac. I was just noting that there are no sidewalks currently on John Moore Road or in the adjoining
Yeah,
neighborhood.
well, I knew they weren't. Yeah, okay.
How many letters were sent?
Can't believe
That is a
suddenly
good-
not put a sidewalk.
We did send them to all the property owners within 150 feet. I can certainly count the specific number of letters that were sent.
And while you're looking, you said you had 2 walk-ins?
Let's see, I had 2 phone calls, 1 stopped in to talk with us, and then 1 email.
Okay, from the contact that you had with those people, what was the general consent of?
Well, the 2 phone calls I had, I didn't get any indication of whether they were for or against it.
But it was questioned regarding the proposed subdivision?
Yes, The 1 email, they just simply asked for the site plan, and then the citizen that stopped in did have concerns about the stormwater and traffic.
Could you put your map back up, the first one, please?
Site plan?
Is your stormwater gonna be contained in the 2 ponds you're showing there?
This is the location that is showing for the stormwater features. It obviously has not been fully engineered, so it could change slightly through the engineering phase, but this is their preliminary location due to the fall of the land.
And when you said it could change to where?
Well, that would be up to the engineer, and however, I mean, this would be the general location just based off the fall of the land.
So it'll be
but
somewhere in that vicinity?
I would assume so, but the applicant might be able to address that better than I can.
I want to go back to the sidewalks. I don't mean to beat this to death, but what size does that subdivision have to be to require sidewalks?
So it's based on the number of lots that are served by the actual cul-de-sac.
No, you just said there's no sidewalk in the cul-de-sac.
It's based on the number of lots in the cul-de-sac, and this
Will
is
there
in
be
the,
sidewalks in the other part of it other than the cul-de-sac? Are there not gonna be any sidewalks, period?
they're not proposing sidewalks
Well,
at
that's what I
all,
was
and it was not
understanding. I want to be sure
required.
that. I can't imagine a
Houses look like that. Let me ask you, what's
without
the
a
price
sidewalk.
range?
Yeah, can we not add that to the
It
conditions?
would be up to council's discretion. I will say, based on the right-of-way, sidewalks would be very difficult to add in here when you add all of the utilities. But that would be up to the discretion of
What's the
council.
price range of the proposed homes?
I'm not sure that the applicant would probably be able to address that. And they are.
And how many, do you know the number of houses proposed?
The number of lots is 21, so it's a single family. It would be 1 house per lot, so
So
21.
21 houses.
An average square foot again is what?
The minimum heated floor area is proposed is 1,800 square feet.
Okay.
And this is on 2 levels.
I would assume so. The elevations that they submitted, they're 2 levels, but there's no notes regarding that.
And one other question, you said that the material would be heat resistant. What's the possibility of being fireproof?
It's a vinyl product. I'm not sure if vinyl is fireproof per se. It would just have to be heat resistant for warping purposes.
So approximately how much space is between homes?
The minimum setbacks on the site plan indicate the minimum side yard would be 5-foot setback. The minimum front yard setback is 20 feet. And the minimum side yard of a corner lot would be 5 feet, and the side yard is 10 feet. I know that's really small. And the minimum rear setback is 25 feet.
But between homes, say, this is a house and this is a house, how much space?
At a minimum, it'd be 10.
10
But it
feet.
could
Okay, because
increase.
what I'm concerned about in case of a fire, houses that close and if they just heat resistant, that's a hazard.
Yeah, we do have a few subdivisions with similar standards, but they do have hardy board as a requirement. But that was also up to
That
the
burns,
council's.
That burns,
Hardy board is like a cement product.
but it doesn't burn.
Not that I'm aware of. I think it's more heat resistant and fire resistant.
Does it melt?
Not that I'm aware of. Not like vinyl would, I don't think.
How is this different from your prior proposal for this
In
project?
2016, let's see here. So the first proposal in 2016 was Dalton's Cove. They had 24 lots, which was 3.2 units per acre. This one, Dogwood Forest, is 21 lots proposed, which is 2.79 units per acre. The Dalton's Cove product in 2016 was 0.9 acres of open space. They're currently proposing 2.01 acres of open space. The minimum heated floor area for Dalton's Cove, the one in 2016, was 1,200 square feet for the minimum house size. They've increased that to 1,800 square feet. The prior project was a 1-car garage minimum. They're now proposing a 2-car garage minimum. And they've increased, the largest lot was 10,627 square feet, and now the largest lot is at 12,900 square feet.
For clarity, it's 3 houses less, 600 feet, 600 additional feet per house.
Yes, and another 1-car to 2-car, and then about an acre difference in open space.
What has been done to alleviate the concerns of the residents that were expressed at that first public hearing regarding this area being rezoned?
So there were some stormwater concerns at the first meeting. It's my understanding that the engineering director and engineering staff did meet with some residents on Valleydale to address their concerns. They created a action list or initiatives that included flushing all the driveway pipes, regrading roadside ditches along Valleydale, and replacing and upgrading an existing 15-inch cross drain to an 18-inch located on Valleydale Road, and then monitoring all those cross drains as well. To my understanding, up to date, the driveway pipes have been flushed and some minor repairs within the right-of-way have been completed. The roadside ditch improvements along both sides of Valleydale was delayed for field survey and determination of utility impacts. However, that should be completed within the next 6 to 8 months. And then upgrading the 15-inch cross drain pipe to an 18-inch pipe should be completed within the next 6 to 8 months as well.
Was that not a density issue as well last time? Wasn't that brought up?
I believe there may have been concerns about
think it
density.
was.
Yeah, currently it does fall within the land use. It's consistent with the land use plan at 2 to 4 units per acre.
What about the traffic concerns that were presented before Have they been addressed at all?
At the February 7th, 2017 council meeting, council did sign a resolution supporting a request for funds for some safety enhancements at John Moore and Old Charlotte Highway. That's still an unfunded project at this time, but there was that resolution to support that. And then, of course, with the 74 widening and Super Street intersections, that may address some of the traffic concerns on the 74 side as well.
In the spirit of fairness of those stormwater issues that were brought up, about half of them have been completed since February of 2017.
Yes, I'd say that's probably fair.
Council have any other questions?
Yep.
Yeah.
The 600 square feet additional space, is that heated or is that including that extra car in the garage?
The 1,800 square feet is heated floor area.
And the 1,200 was heated also?
I believe so.
But we're still talking about the same amount of land that we originally discussed.
Correct, it's 7.5 acres.
That's house per half acre, is that right?
The current zoning is R20, so it'd be a 20,000 square foot minimum lot size if it were to be developed by right.
Is that half acre?
Half acre.
He's asking, is it half
Yeah,
acre?
yes,
A half acre.
yeah.
So it'll be 2 houses per acre per,
Thereabout, yeah. And currently he's proposing 2.79.
okay?
What, is this subdivision intended for, what age is it for, 55 and over, or families?
It's not a restricted or an age-targeted community that I'm aware of. It would just be a regular
Is
subdivision.
there any type of playground plan for that subdivision?
I'm sorry, what?
Any type of playground or recreation considered for the subdivision?
Not at this time, just the open space, which
If the
There
builder's
is.
here, we may get a chance to ask him some of those
Yeah.
questions. If he's here, I'm not sure who will be
he,
here.
yes, the applicant is here.
Thank you.
Council have any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll start the public hearing. Okay, this is a public hearing. We have several people signed to speak, and I'll take those names to speak in the order that they've signed up. So if you'd like to speak, Mr. James at Valleydale Drive. Yes, sir, if you will, come to the podium if you will, please. Name and address for the record, sir.
My name is James Levinsky, 3201 Valleydale Road. Really coming in to look for more answers than having questions. The improvements on Valleydale Road have not seen any improvements on any drainage. There has been a street sweeper a couple of times, but as of any cleaning out of ditches and culverts, have not seen any. And may have to have other witnesses as well. I am on the end, therefore I could have missed it while I was at work or so. But the biggest concern, a couple concerns. So one is and again, I guess would have to ask the builder is the retention ponds. I mean, is it going to be like those ones in front of the Target where there's always water, frogs, and mosquitoes around, or is it going to be one that, like the one in front of AutoZone, which I have never seen water and it stays perfectly dry? As soon as it rains, water goes in, it's gone right into the into the sewage system. So that's a big concern. Is talking about the the quality, mosquitoes, bugs, odors, and what have you. The next one is definitely the traffic. Leaving out to go to work in the morning, I leave probably right at 7 o'clock, and there's times I sit on Valleydale Road trying to get onto John Moore and have to wait for 2 stoplights before I can even get onto 74. So right now, without a development, you know, an additional 21 houses, which would be an additional 42 cars on average. It's awful as it is. You know, turning onto Old Charlotte Highway is, you can't. And it's used for such a cut through from the Old Charlotte Highway to 74. It's, you know, it's constant traffic as it is. So that is a big, big concern, especially when you get to 74, it's only one lane still. There's no turning lane, you know, there's no right turning lane, anything like that. So you are waiting in up to several lights. I have waited up to 3 lights before, just on a normal day. And then the last is, you know, pretty big question is, again, my privacy. I mean, right now I have 7 acres behind me. I've got some trees, I have a fence, got my little swimming pool in the backyard, and I kind of like my privacy. I've been there for 25 years, wow, 25 years now. And now I'm gonna have that taken away. You know, house directly behind me. So this is a nice scenario, nice neighborhood, great. I mean, yeah, it can help with property values as well. I am curious about the screening around. You know, I wouldn't be opposed to some nice tall arborvitae, something that's going to grow thick and fill up, and you know, and still keep my privacy. You know, everything's got to build, everything's got to develop over time, but I'm really concerned about my privacy as well. So between the privacy, the ponds, you know, will they be nice runoff ponds or will they be scum ponds? And it sounds like, you know, what you addressed earlier, it's still up to discretion on that. So that's a pretty big fear. And then worst off is that traffic. So, you know, if we can address those concerns, you know, I might could give it a thumbs up.
Okay,
Any questions for me?
thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Tom Howell, John Moore Road. Is he here?
He pretty much summed it up.
Okay. How about Ms. Brenda Hamilton?
Mayor Kilgore, and ladies and gentlemen of the council and guests. I am Brenda Hamilton. I live at 3209 Valleydale Road. And if you look at this map, this is my lot, plus the lots that are over here on the other side of the Valleydale Road. I have, like the gentleman before me has, 2 major concerns. The detention, which scares me when I use that word, detention sand basins, and how do they operate? And the second one is the traffic. I look at the dimensions of this, and it says that according to the map that the lots are going to be, there's going to be 120 feet if you measure off these number of lots. So out of those detention ponds or basins, whatever you wish to call them, there are going to be 10 existing lots on Valleydale Road, John Moore Road, and Timber Lane that are going to be affected by those. Those are extremely important to those of us who live there. We've not had to deal with that in the past. My lot is not numbered on there, but I showed you which one it is. The major part of that is going to be at the back of my lot. I have major concerns. I have no small children at my house, but I have lovely grandchildren and great-grandchildren that I would like to be able to come to my house and play. I don't want them to be infected by mosquitoes, whatever, made sick as a result of water standing there, if that's what it is. The dimensions and the plot says that there will be sand put in them, but there's nothing about the minimum thickness and depth of the sand beds. There's nothing about the permeability of rate for the sand beds to run off. There's nothing about how the underground flow will be handled. Is it going to be carried by pipes and systems off? And is it going to be, as in the past indicated, across to these lots, which are my lots? So what am I going to have to deal with that? I have great concerns for the breeding ground for Zika and West Nile, and I want my neighbors as well protected. I want myself protected. I want the neighborhood protected. There's an indication there's going to be a homeowners association that is going to take care of that. Who draws the recommendations on that? Who sees that the homeowners association keeps those areas clean from debris and standing water? I don't think any of us who are surrounded there will have any say-so in it. So, guys, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be beating on your doors about it. Also, it talks about the homeowners association will check on the quality and maintain the stormwater measurements and the levels, etc. Well, what are their levels? I didn't see anything in here that tells me what the levels are. Also, I didn't see anything that said how often the basins will be cleaned, to keep the debris out, to keep it clean so that we don't have mosquitoes and varmints out there. And varmints, in case y'all are not old like me, varmints are all sorts of raccoons and et cetera out there. There's a lot of us that are affected by those basins, so we would like to see those taken care of. And I'd like to know how the water's going to be drained off of there. If it goes down into the ground, then that takes it over. Is it going to be a natural drain? Is it going to be a pipe that drains it off? We were annexed into the city. I'm sorry, that's my phone and I'm not here. We were annexed into the city over 30-something years ago. I don't know why I don't have sidewalks. I've always wanted them, but I don't have them. So, I would like some of those benefits, and I'd like to be assured by the city that these things will be taken care of. My second concern is the traffic, and it was also my concern the last time we were here. At that time, my spouse was living, and he had cancer, and I was on the way to take him to chemo one morning, and I had to get out and beg the people to let me through so I could go the opposite direction that they were going. I'd not thought too much about that until I read this information, and I saw that, okay, there's going to be 2-car garages, but space for 2 more cars. That's going to be 4 cars. 21, that at max would be 48, probably 48 vehicles going in and out during the day, or more. If it's like the new neighbors I have that have 6 cars sitting in the yard. Also, I don't understand why there's just one exit. You look at this. Let me get it where it's straight. You're going to coming out onto Hickory Grove Road, and all the folks in that area are going to be hindered, and then it goes on to John Moore Road. You're going to go left or right. And as Jim said earlier, you can sit there a mighty long time, and if you go over to the old road, you're taking your life into your hands when you try to get on it. So we're now looking at the possibility of 84 vehicles on a two-trip basis, 48 in, 48 out, or more. So I don't understand why there's not an additional exit in that area. What are the city's plans to try to handle that? Because it's ultimately going to come back on the city staff to try to reconcile this. Second, there seems to be a concern, citizen concern for people who come in. They block the driveways. They block the side streets and things. Last week, I almost became a wild woman. Now, I tell y'all, my initials are BWH, and I like to think of that as being the beautiful woman for heaven. But last week, I almost became the bitch and witch from hell when I was blocked off and couldn't get out. And I felt myself, I actually put my hand on the gear shift to back up. And if you all have seen Fried Green Tomatoes, you see the lady that says, yeah, I'm older and I got more insurance. I had to really say, Lord, you better hold on to me here.
Ms. Hamilton, if you will, wrap it up for us. We got some more got to speak.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thank you for listening to me and giving me my time. But I'm like Jim, I'm willing to go a certain distance. I'm not saying it's a done deal, but I want some things that I'd love to see taken care of.
Thank you, ma'am.
John, Bobby,
Yes,
let Jim Lord address the retention ponds.
okay.
That seems to be a big issue, and he would be the one to do it.
Mr. Lloyd, would you come and address that? The questions these folks had about the retention and ponds and et cetera. Please, sir. Brief.
Good evening. It's my understanding that they're proposing to install sand filters, dry ponds, where there should not be any standing water. The ponds have not been designed at this point, but they'll be designed in accordance with the state design manual. And also, one of the requirements is that they're inspected at least once a year to make sure that they're functioning properly. Then, of course, there's some monthly maintenance requirements that goes along with these ponds. That would be the responsibility of the homeowners association. Now, regarding the discharge, there's a, like for this pond here, there's a channel that goes out to Valladale Road. That's probably where that pond's going to discharge into. It'll flow into that channel. And we'll also have the engineer as part of his design look at that channel, make sure it's properly sized. And then there's a channel over here, I believe it's down this side lot line, that would discharge into. That channel would also be looked at as part of the overall design, make sure it's properly sized. And if it wasn't, they would have to work with the property owners to improve it.
Okay.
Did that answer
Council,
your
have any
questions?
Just one more thing while you're up.
Yes, sir.
Could we continue to put the heat on DOT for a stoplight at John Moore and Old Charlotte? Because it is so desperately needed. It is a safety issue. You can't get out of, you can't get off of John Moore onto Old Charlotte in a safe manner.
I agree with you,
And
sir.
I know we've been pressuring them. I know you've been pressuring
We're
them.
gonna-
We keep getting pushed back, but at some point, we just gotta say, look, DOT, we gotta have a light there for the safety of our citizens.
Hopefully, we're going to have an opportunity to apply again in
Right.
the next couple of months and understand the county. This is also one of the critical intersections that the county is supporting to do improvements at. So hopefully, with the county, us, then we can all push DOT to
Get us a light.
get us moving
We need
ahead.
it.
Jim, if you have just a normal half inch, maybe an inch of rain, how much of the water actually goes into the groundwater through the sand, and how much runoff would you expect?
Well, it's going to filter through the sand and go out the outlet pipe.
Okay, and how
So
deep is the sand?
it's going to
I think
slow it
that was the
down.
question.
I'm not sure how deep it's going to be.
Is there-
I haven't designed a sand filter
Would it
in
depend
some
on-
time now, but it'll
on
be,
the amount of rain, how many inches of rain, how fast it fills?
what, ma'am? It'll be designed for the 2, 10, and it's also designed for water quality for the 1-inch storm.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Lloyd?
And you said this is, most of this maintenance would be with the proposed homeowners association?
Yes, the maintenance will be required of the homeowner association. Then once a year, a professional must inspect the pond and submit a report to us, and then we select the random number of locations, and we go out and inspect them to verify that it is correct.
There will be a homeowner association.
That's my understanding. It's supposed to be the homeowners
Well, we'll get
association.
an opportunity to ask, I'm sure that in a minute. Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. I have one other signed up, Larry Robinson of John Moore Road. Mr. Robinson. How are you, sir?
Hi, Larry Robinson, 1826 John Moore Road. I live right there. Thank you for letting me be here to speak today. I have a petition here from signed by members, residents of John Moore Road, Valleydale, Hickory Grove. I have approximately 32 signatures here.
I'll take it.
Okay. This does not represent the entirety of our residents, but it's approximately 80%. And I'll be as brief as I can because I know there's a lot's already been said. Being the resident on John Moore Road, I can speak as far as that particular road is concerned. I don't know how many of you actually get out on that road. This is the shortest road between Old Charlotte Highway and 74, and is used as a cut-through by many, many people. I have been feeling like many times getting out and mowing the shoulder along the road in my property, that I'm taking my life into my own hands because of the traffic. It's supposed to be a 35-mile-an-hour zone, but people come along with their 55 miles an hour. And a lot of times people don't even bother to move over to get out, to show you any courtesy or anything. So I can just imagine when you add all of this traffic to this particular situation, that it's going to be far, far greater situation. I feel for the people on John Moore Road who have children. The fear is, children, anything happens, and they were to get out in the road accidentally, with as much traffic as there is here, major situation. The number of houses that are being proposed here are almost the same number of houses that are along the entire stretch of John Moore Road. So I don't know that I can add anything further to what's already been said, but thank you very much for that.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Robinson, would you share with us, please, what your petition states?
I'm sorry?
Would you share with us what your petition states, please?
What did your petition say?
Oh, my petition was saying that we were complaining about the overload of traffic that would be on the road.
Is your petition for or against the development?
Oh, no, we are against.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is anyone else here who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, is anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Hearing none, we'll close the public. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Come right up, sir.
I'm sorry, I wasn't quick enough.
I didn't have your name down, and that's why I didn't mean to overlook you.
No, that's all right. My name is Lee McLaren. I work for Scott Merritt. I'm a landscape architect in Charlotte, and we prepared the plans for this proposed subdivision, and that is before you. I think that the concerns that the public have and that the neighbors have are very valid, and they're the kinds of things that I'd be asking about if I was living there and this was being proposed next to my house. I'd have the same questions they have. So I'd like to address some of those if you give me just a second. First thing I want to talk about is the fact that we're not talking about this or nothing at all. We're really talking about 7 more houses with this proposal than will go there if it isn't there. In return for that 7 more houses, we get an expanded and more complete stormwater detention than would be there under the current zoning. And the reason that I say that is that we've gone beyond the requirement for the detention of a 10 and 25-year storm and gone all the way up to the 100-year storm being handled in these detention basins. So we go above and beyond the requirement that would be done if the existing, if it was developed under the existing zoning. Secondly, people were talking about the difference between the old, well, let me back up, also talk about the ponds. The homeowners association will maintain the ponds. There's no guarantee that they'll do it up to the standards, but they have more of an interest in those ponds being maintained to an acceptable level than, or as much as anybody around them does. So they have the same incentive as anybody to keep it up to date. The ponds will be, as the engineer said, designed to be not holding water. They're dry ponds. The water will come in, stand there, be held to the and release at the rate that it would be released at under today's condition for the 2, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year storms. So there won't be any more volume running off at any one time than is running off the property today. Now, the existing drainage problems that are there today are not going to be solved by what we do. We're just saying we're not going to make it any worse. So if there's problems downstream, there can continue to be problems downstream. We're not fixing that, but we are going above and beyond what would be done under the current zoning. The second thing is that we are holding particularly for the lots on Verndale, we're holding the lots back a good ways away and providing open space between those lots and the houses. The previous petition had a 5-foot rear yard setback. which would have allowed the house to be 5 feet off the back property line. We're saying we've increased that to 25, plus we've added the open space in these areas along here so that you can see, and as well as getting open space around this property and providing screening in that open space with shrubbery and planting so that those neighbors also have increased privacy. That wouldn't be there if it were developed, wouldn't necessarily be there if it were developed under the current zoning category. The John Moore traffic is a very real concern, and I understand that. I think that traffic is primarily the result of cut-through. I don't think that 7 more houses on this using that road is going to have a particularly major impact on it as a percentage of the traffic on John Moore Road. It's 1%, maybe or 0.5%, some very, very small impact relative to the cut through and the hundreds of other houses that are using it. So 7 more houses as a major impact on the John Moore traffic, I don't think is significant. In return for those 7 more houses, we're getting architectural control over the houses that are being built there, which would not be there under the current zoning. The privacy that people were talking about over there, without this zoning, the houses could be, the lots could be right up behind his house, and they could build a shed or a storage or whatever right on the property line. So because what we have here now is a detention pond there with screening around the detention pond, which again gives substantial protection to the neighbors on Burndale. I think that's the main things I wanted to cover.
Thank you, sir. Do you have questions?
Yeah, I do. Sir, you are the landscaping architect?
I'm a landscape architect, yes, ma'am.
Is Mr. Merritt here?
Yes, he is.
Okay, thank you.
He's right here.
Yeah, well, I have one question. You said 7 houses won't make that much difference. Now, that's 7 on John Moore, but then there's 14 others that adds into that equation.
Well, those will be built whether this petition is approved or not. So what you're talking about is a difference of 7 houses.
We're talking about 20.
And in return for those 7 houses, you get a lot of architectural controls, the extra stormwater detention, that I talked about.
Yeah, but we are talking about 21.
14 houses. I'm sorry, 14 houses you speak of. You're talking about to be built by right, is that what you're talking
Built
about?
by right, yes.
In other words, you could build 14 houses there.
7.
I'm sorry?
7.
No.
By right.
14 by right.
14 by
14.
right.
It's R20, it's R20.
In other words, if the council takes no action, you can build 14 houses by right.
Yes, and with no restrictions in terms of the setback.
That's what I wanted to be sure everybody heard that.
You had indicated, I believe, no
So you can do about what you wanted
fencing
to.
behind the ponds between the ponds and the, I think Ms. Hamilton's property.
This pond right here with the little circles around it, and this pond right here with the little circles, I shouldn't call them ponds, they're really detention areas, BMPs. They will have a sand filter in them that will allow only a certain amount of water to run out for the 1-year storm, and that filters the pollutants out of the water before it leaves the site. Larger storms build up on top of that and are maintained. They will go out through an opening in a structure there and run off at a controlled rate.
So even after a heavy rain, it'll be drained.
Yes, I forgot the number now. I shouldn't know that off the top of my head, but within a certain number of hours, they have to be dry.
And what type of landscaping are you planning on those property lines? What type of shrubs or trees or whatever?
That will be up to Mr. Merritt, but what I had in mind was something like Burford hollies or dwarf Burefords or any number of other evergreen shrubs. They're large maturing evergreen shrubs.
Council, if I may, one thing to make clear is that the petition that was provided to you under the changes to the zoning statutes that got rid of the protest petitions, you unfortunately cannot consider that petition because it was not provided to you 2 days before, business days before this meeting. So while you've heard what it's about, I'm going to ask you to unring the bell and not consider what was in that statement to consider what you've heard from the citizens, but the statement, the petition that was provided to you cannot be used in your decision-making process.
Tell me again, what I'm saying can't be used?
No, not what you're saying, what the gentleman that provided the petition, it cannot. Since there was a break, I had an opportunity to advise the council of that.
All right.
Since they stopped asking you questions and things were awfully quiet.
Mr. Attorney, may I ask you?
Yes,
in the-
ma'am.
You know, in the letter that we sent, I don't know what was explained and what was asked, but were they given that information? Would they have known that it had to be presented 2 days prior?
I don't know what adjacent letter, but I think the adjacent letter typically just notes that it's going to be on the agenda. Here's the agenda. I believe that's what, or that a application. But that's not a thing that we're required to do. You know, it's something that we may, consider putting in, but as some folks have always said, the law is what the law is, and it is available for everyone to see. But we can also work from a staff perspective of providing that in a sort of adjacent notification if needed. But the only problem is the adjacent notification doesn't go to every citizen. And the requirement for citizen comments is any resident or property owner in the city. So putting that in the letter will only help with the adjacents. It won't help with everybody else.
I can say we can try it and disregard it, but once you've heard it, and you've heard it, so.
But I'm asking you to disregard it, but you can also, you've heard similar things said. So the fact that the petition went around pretty quickly, I don't believe many of you had an opportunity to review it and it went to the clerk. Just ignore that it is there. We're gonna be happy to return it to the person that submitted it, and then go forward from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
May I ask a question to the people that live on John Moore Road? What he's basically saying is, by right, they can build 14 houses, which we really don't have input. They're building on R20, so they can build pretty much what they want to. Based on this, they're building 7 more houses, but we do have a say-so in it and some control. Same with your watershed. I just didn't know if y'all had really thought of that or not, because, big difference in what you can build by right than what you got to build here. Yeah.
I am not opposed to the houses being built there, or the 21. I just want answers to how those ponds are going to drain. And am I going to be left with a big problem on the other side of the road? Because when the engineers came out and checked everything out, the area that goes across Valley Dale, the pipes that were laid by a contractor for the engineer set down about 4 to 6 inches below the ground. And it backs up. So how is that going to be resolved? That's what I'm looking for. I think just like most of these folks are. We're looking for some answers. Not necessarily that we're totally opposed to it, but we're looking for some answers to satisfy our concerns. And I'm concerned these are attractive nuisance, and who's going to hold the liability for that?
May we hear from Mr. Merritt?
I'm sorry.
May we hear from the builder?
I have a question for staff.
Yeah.
What would be the setbacks if they developed that as is? What would be the setbacks for the houses?
The setbacks for by right subdivision are 10 feet minimum on all sides.
On all sides?
She said 10?
Yes.
And what are they on this roof? I know you said, but I want to be sure.
They're proposing a 20-foot front setback, a 10-foot side setback, unless it's a side yard with a corner lot, which is a 5-foot setback, and then a minimum of a 25-foot rear setback.
Jim, I got another question on the big pond. Can you put that pond, the water retention back up? Down a little bit where it shows both of them. Jim, could you not put your pipe from the big retention pond and run it down to the end where you don't cross anybody's property? Why would that not work?
You try to keep water going the same direction it's been going. If you move this, I guess you're trying to say move it down to this pond?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you would be this runoff over that, they would put more of a burden on this side at this location.
Yeah, but you wouldn't be running it through nobody's yard either.
Well, there is a yard here, and it would go through that side.
It's gonna go underground
there.
here.
There's already a drainage ditch at those locations.
Okay.
That would be the proper way of handling it.
Okay, I was just curious.
Just try to keep it balanced and not put any more burden on anybody else than you have to.
Got a hand up over there.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, and actually, if you could ask if anyone's going to want to speak from the audience, if they would come up to the podium.
Yeah,
That way, everyone else can hear them for the record.
I was gonna do that. If you wanna speak, come back to the podium, please. We have to have it for the record. For the record, sir.
I mean, it sounds great to have everything figured out, but, you know, they're saying that there will be no more water than there currently is. Well, that's currently a problem, is how much water is currently running off that land and flooding people's yards. Me, knock on wood, luckily, right here, I have a natural berm just of dead behind my house, you know, brush, what have you, that's, you know, sat for years and it's built up. Luckily, I'm not running into that, but I do know 3 houses down from me, Mr. Wilson has constant water running from the field under his house currently, and has, you know, he had to have his floors replaced, twice already, which he spoke at the last meeting. And so we still haven't addressed the original issue with the land. You know, we're gonna make it the same as it is now, but no different. Now, I do see right here is a quote-unquote a drainage ditch. What it is a washed out area that looks like a crack in the ground that's washing away and eroding these people's yard, and they have a fence up and it's about to eat their fence, from what I could tell, just because it's eroding even more. Through here is somewhat of a ditch, but when it rains hard, it actually runs over Valleydale Road. So there's probably a spot from about here to here. That's a solid sheet of water that runs over the road. It doesn't even make it into the pipes. So we've never really addressed the initial problem. We're just gonna keep it the same with this new system. That's a pretty big concern there.
Mayor,
Yes.
I got a suggestion. I think this has a lot of merit to it, but it would be a bad idea to table this and let a couple of us meet with staff, the builder, and 2 or 3 of the neighbors. We've done this before, and make sure that everybody's on the same wavelength. And that's what I'm gonna make a recommendation. We table this and let staff, the contractor, and 3 of the neighbors meet, and so that we get to an understanding as to the drainage and the water, and we also talk about stock.
Question. Okay, are we going to, you know, put a specific time and date on that, and how you suggesting we determine which neighbors meet with, or is it open for any neighbor?
Basically, in the past, we've tried to keep it to 2 or 3. I could see this gentleman, this young lady, and one more, Mr. Robinson. I wouldn't doubt.
Or you could let the neighbors point 3.
Yeah,
Whatever.
1.3.
Throw that out.
I volunteer to be on. You want to be on? All right, then we'll work with staff, meet with the builder, and I would be very surprised if we don't come out with a workable solution.
Council.
I have just a quick question. Since we were not able to accept the petition because it did not come to us in a timely fashion, does that mean that the individuals whose names were on that petition have an opportunity to have their voices heard through that petition?
They would if you are, it sounds like that the council wishes to table the item to a separate date, so we would consider it then as providing it to you in advance of the next meeting. The question I would have for the maker of the motion is, are you asking the entire item to be tabled without further advertising to either the October 2 meeting or the November 6 meeting? Or are you wanting to go as far as December 4?
No, I would think that we would probably, today's Tuesday, we could meet the first, middle of next week. So I would say that the October probably, or November, as long as we get the job done. And I would think this lady here can pick 2 more to be on that committee.
I think that's Mr. Levinsky, Mr. Robinson.
Would, and I would ask the maker of the motion, is the intent to provide a report to council, to advise council on this? Or is it to facilitate discussions between the neighbors and the builder?
Facilitate discussion, and we will, it'll be brought back in October.
And as long as only then 2 members are doing it, it's really predominantly to facilitate discussions. I would not say that this would be a public body, so you could have it meet whenever. But I think what I'd recommend is that your motion be to table the item without further advertising until the October 2 meeting. And then obviously everyone can meet as you all see fit, whatever is.
I'll go for that. That'll work.
Okay, this gentleman had one other thing. We're gonna hear this.
One left. It's little, Mr. Mayor. All right, while we are, of course, they have, everything's about this right here, but still, between now and then, will there be any address on the traffic situation, a light, maybe even a turning lane?
We'll be
Would that
talking
part
We'll
of
be
this?
talking about
We
that.
can talk about it.
It'll all be brought up.
Excellent, thank you.
So you,
Mayor.
yes.
Before we vote on that, could we see if Mr. Merritt has some comments he'd like to make?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm Scott Merritt, I'm the owner of the property and all. What we're just trying to do is we're trying to, bring in a quality product, some nice homes, I think, that we've got a great builder on board, and I think the way we've got this thing designed now is that the water issue, which I think is a main concern, and traffic. But it's like Lee was stating before, is that, it's zoned now for 14 lots, so 7 more lots. Is it gonna cause that much more traffic? Of course, I'm in the opinion that it wasn't. We were at 24, so in the 16th, we submitted a plan with 24 lots, and we heard all the discussion about the water issues. We installed another pond. The first one only had 1 pond, so we installed another pond to take care of the water issues. So we are hearing your concerns. We are very concerned about y'all's concerns. So we are really trying to work with the neighborhood and trying to get the right thing so we can mesh together so everybody's happy. Because a happy neighbor is a good neighbor. And we always try to make happy neighbors. But we've sunk a lot of money into this thing, and we've tried to work with everything to make everything right. So I think with the water issues, it's like Lee stated, is that we're not making anything worse. But we're not necessarily making it better. But I think the better end is, and I think y'all have already got things in place, and I think y'all are working on it. I think Kerry spoke on it before about another pipe from a 15 to an 18-inch pipe going in. And I don't know exactly where it's at, but it sounds like it may be in that area where you were talking about where the water backs up. So that may alleviate that problem. So I think the city and the council is working on that to fix that initial water issue that's out there. So we're not going to make it any worse, but we're happy to hear concerns and to address them as we have done since 2015.
You're okay with the committee we talked about? You're okay with this committee thing, talk about getting worked out?
Oh, I would much rather for y'all to vote yes now.
I understand that.
But, yeah.
We're gonna, you heard what we're gonna do.
Exactly.
You okay with that?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yes, sir.
Okay, that's right.
Because we do want to make it right for everybody.
Well, we know.
But, it's hard to please everybody. And I think y'all know that. Your own council, y'all have had things done for. So it's hard to please everybody, and we understand that, but we want to please the most people we can and make it the best product that we can and make everybody happy.
We appreciate it.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Lisa, you got
Thank you
all
for
this
that.
down? Okay.
All right. Is this,
One of the,
I move we table this,
Billy's got
well, just one thing, but before, as you're meeting, I want someone to address the homeowner association that has kind of been brought up as the fix-all for any complaints that are going to happen with this development. But there's not a homeowner association until a certain percentage of the properties have been built on and have actually been purchased. Until that happens, I guess the contractor, the builder.
Yes, sir, I'll be responsible for that until.
Okay, that's
I'll
all.
be the developer.
So they have your phone number until the homeowner
Yeah,
association.
once we, I'll have to get a, homeowners association
I understand.
group plan all
I
together and all that.
understand, but again, that was being proposed as a fix-all for complaints and for due diligence on the project.
Yes.
And I just wanted to make the public aware that that does not occur whenever we approve this.
So excuse me,
Mayor.
one more question, Mr. Murray. You are going to be available to work on the committee?
Oh, yes.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that Saluda and I, along with staff and the builder and 3 members of the neighborhood, Lisa will inform us when we're going to meet, and we'll get it worked out.
okay, I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, okay, you report back in the October meeting, right?
You still
did-
have, the motion, you still have to have the motion to table. That hasn't been voted
Move
on.
that we
So
table the public hearing.
you've not yet tabled, so what you need to do is it's a motion to table the item without further advertising to the October 2 hearing, which I believe is what everyone is intending.
I so move.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? We need to get those names of the 3 members and addresses tonight, I would think, so we can contact them. Do you know who your 3 is gonna be? We got to have some way to contact so we'll know who to contact.
We have 3. Sure.
So if y'all want to have a huddle session for, while we move on, but at some point, we do need the names and their addresses, and if you'll give them this lady on the end, our clerk, Ms. Robinson, that way we know who we need to contact for the meeting. Thank you folks very much. Okay, we'll move right on.
And I just want to tell the clerk that just so the person who submitted the petition understands, clerk's now going to hold on to it because now it'll be given to council before the October meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Okay, we'll be back on October 2nd, and we'll get something done then on October 2nd, hopefully. Item 10, zoning map amendment request to rezone property located corner of North Rocky River Road and Weddington Road. Public hearing.
Good evening, I'm Carrie Mendler with the Planning Department. Tonight I'm presenting a zoning map amendment request by Rayleigh Miller Properties. The applicant is requesting a conditional district rezoning in order to develop 184 single-family lots. The total area of the project is 55.07 acres with 10.08 acres of open space. The density of this project is 3.34 units per acre. To orient you, the property is highlighted in blue. It is north of Weddington Road and east of North Rocky River Road. To the north here is Rocky River Elementary School. The property is currently zoned R40 residential low density and conditional district shops at Rocky River. The property to the north is zoned R40. Again, that is where Rocky River Elementary School is. And then the properties to the east, south, and west are all zoned R40 or R20, and they are located in the county's jurisdiction. The applicant is requesting the conditional district in order to develop 184 single-family lots that will provide 10.08 acres of open space. The lot sizes range from 6,240 square feet to 11,647 square feet. The development currently shows 3 access points. There are two access points on Rocky River Road. The access point that is closest to the intersection is a right-in, right-out only intersection, and the access point further north on Rocky River Road will provide a left turn lane into the development. Additionally, there is another access point on Weddington Road that will also provide a left turn lane into the development. Sidewalks are being proposed on both sides of the streets throughout the development, as well as along Rocky River Road. Development will provide 1 street tree per lot and 2 yard trees per lot, and the development will also provide an amenity area that includes a pool and clubhouse. These are the elevations that are being proposed. Sorry, they don't all fit on there. But the developer's proposing homes with a minimum of 1,400 square feet of heated floor area. And the proposed exterior building materials will include fiber cement, stone, stucco, brick, and or vinyl. If vinyl is used, it must be a high-grade vinyl that is at least 0.044 to 0.055 inches thick. The vinyl must also have insulated backing material and must be heat resistant and UV reflective additives, and must also be wind resistant. If vinyl is used as the primary exterior building material, the front facade must include some blend of additional building materials such as brick, stone, or stucco, with the exception that a maximum of 62 of the 184 proposed homes may use vinyl on the entire home. Homes built on a crawl or stem wall foundation shall have brick of standard size extending up the entire face of the foundation. Each dwelling will also have a minimum of a 2-car garage with hardware to mimic a carriage-style garage. And garages will not extend more than 5 feet from the front of the house. And each dwelling will also have a paved driveway that will accommodate at least 2 vehicles in addition to the garage space. The development does fall within the Rocky River Elementary School District, which is over capacity. It also falls within the Monroe Middle School, which is under capacity, and the Monroe High School District, which is under capacity. As far as the neighborhood notification, the applicant did send a notification letter to property owners within 150 feet of the subject property on August 6th. Staff did receive 2 inquiries from this letter. 1 individual was seeking general information, and 1 individual did have concerns about the number of lots. Additionally, staff did post the property and sent out letters to the property owners within 150 feet of the subject property 10 days prior to the public hearing. Staff received 1 call from the signs being posted, and the citizen was seeking general information. Did not receive any indication if they were for or opposed. For the land development plan, the land development plan indicates this area as suburban. While residential uses typically take the form of neighborhoods with uniform housing types and densities, a mix of housing types and lot sizes is preferred in suburban locations. The density for suburban residential is 2 to 4 units per acre. Staff did recommend approval of the rezoning request. The planning board had concerns that all the homes could be completely vinyl with no mix of materials on the front facade. The planning board did discuss with the applicant about limiting the number of homes with all vinyl fronts, and the applicant did agree that they could limit the number of lots with all vinyl fronts to a maximum of 62 homes, and has revised the site plan as such. However, after discussion, the planning board did make a decision to move this request to City Council without a recommendation, which was passed unanimously. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is here as well.
Council have any questions? Hearing none. Thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing, and I have 1 sign up to speak, and I'll take it as your name in favor. So, Mr. Larry, we recognize you this time, sir. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. My name is Larry Rayleigh. I'm with Rayleigh Miller Properties in Charlotte. We're the property owners, and we'd just like to reiterate, you need my address. 12122 Shoal Creek Court, Charlotte, North Carolina. And I think I put my business address on on there to start with. So I would just like to, staff really covered most of everything I was going to say. We're very excited about this project. We started off owning 90 acres there. We sold 30 acres of it to the school. I think it's 2003, plus or minus. And the other acreage we've held. We've tried to be good stewards, and we think that this is a really good project. We think that with the addition of the pool and the amenities there is great. It gives the ability for the middle income families to have access points. We do have an HOA. We will control the pool plus our ponds, and we just things that I heard from you all. We do have sidewalks on both sides of the roads, and we would just appreciate your approval and would be open for questions.
Okay. Council have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Like I said, I'd just like the plan that includes amenities for families and the sidewalk that shows consideration for the possible residents.
Thank you, ma'am.
Amen. Okay. Anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who would like to speak in opposition? I've got to close the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's,
You give the extra hour.
we got a few things to do.
The motions that will need to be made are outlined here.
Okay.
All right, I'll close the public hearing at this time. We'll take action.
And I move that we adopt the ordinance amending section 156 point.
No, ma'am, could you go to the first item, which is the resolution?
Okay. Hold on a minute. Okay. Move to adopt a resolution approving of the land development compliance.
Second. Have a motion to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 2.
And move to adopt the ordinance amending section 156.98 from conditional district and 2.
Actually, just do it, you can do it one at a time if you want, whatever.
Can I do both of them at the same time?
You can do it both at the same
And
time.
move to adopt the ordinance amending 156.106 from the official zoning map.
Second.
Have a motion to second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass.
And that's it. That's it.
Okay. I'm trying to do this without you catching me. I don't want to miss it.
Come in.
Item 11, historic landmark designation request from Piedmont Buggy Factory, Miller Street.
Good evening, Carrie Mendler with the Planning Department. Tonight, I am presenting a historic landmark request for the Piedmont Buggy Factory located at 514 Miller Street. The request is for the interior and exterior grounds and portions of the interior, including the segmental arch door and window openings and the stairway. To orient you of the property, it is east of Miller Street. Of course, here are the city ball fields and the community shelters being built on this location. An application was submitted by the current owners of the property, and the Piedmont Buggy Factory possesses local significance due to its association with the industrialization of Monroe and Union County at the turn of the 20th century. It possesses architectural significance as a largely intact example of early 1900s brick, masonry, industrial architecture. Despite a mid-20th century addition along the rear of the building and an elevator tower along the front, the historic core of the mill and its exterior remain largely intact. The use of brick and heavy timber construction and segmental arched window and openings render the building a prime example of typical mill construction and design during the early 20th century. Historic landmark designation means that the community recognizes this property as an important resource worth of preservation Any substantial exterior design changes to a designated landmark are subject to design review procedures of the Union County Historic Preservation Commission. The designation would allow the owner to apply for an annual deferral of 50% of the property taxes as long as the property is designated and retains significance and integrity. The Union County Historic Preservation Commission has recommended that the Monroe City Council adopt an ordinance designating the property as the Piedmont Buggy Factory located at 514 Miller Street as a historic landmark. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, have any questions? Thank you, ma'am. This is a public hearing. At this time, I have Ms. Barbara Moore signed up to speak in favor. Ms. Moore, we recognize you this time, ma'am.
Good evening. How is everyone? It's really nice that this owner decided to request designation, and we are very proud to present this to you. Our board met in a special meeting on November the 29th, and the HPC evaluated the 3-story brick building originally constructed for the Piedmont Buggy Factory. And we unanimously approved to request to the City Council to designate it as a historic landmark. And I am Barbara Moore. I live at 420 Shamwood Road, Monroe, and I am the chairman of the Historic Preservation Commission. And we had other members present, but they had other commitments. And we do wholeheartedly endorse this. And thank you for considering it.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Anyone else who'd like to speak in favor? Hearing none. Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, I'll pass, Ms. Moore. Okay. Item 12, historic landmark designation, Ramsey Fairley House at 402 South Washington Street.
Good evening. Tonight I am here to present a historic landmark request for the Ramsey Fairley House located at 402 South Washington Street. The request is for the house and exterior grounds and portions of the interior, including the center hall staircase, the dining room, the original hardware, and mantles. Just to orient you, the property does front South Washington Street and runs all the way to South Crawford Street. The structure was constructed in circa 1878 with alterations in circa 1905. The Ramsey Fairley House is a 2-story frame building erected to service as a residence and medical office for the original owner, W.C. Ramsey. The single-pile property, though altered during the early 20th century to reflect the classic revival architectural style, is typical of the period. Historic landmark designation means that the community recognizes this property as an important resource worth of preservation. Any substantial exterior design changes to a designated landmark are subject to design review procedures of the Union County Historic Preservation Commission. The designation would allow the owner to apply for an annual deferral of 50% of the property taxes as long as the property is designated and retains significance and integrity. The Union County Historic Preservation Commission has recommended the Monroe City Council adopt an ordinance designating the property as known as the Ramsey Fairley House located at 402 South Washington Street as a historic landmark. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions, council? Thank you, ma'am. Also speaking in favor, I have Ms. Barbara Moore.
And I am Barbara Moore, 420 Shamwood Road, Monroe. I'm chairman of the Union County Historic Preservation Commission. At a regular meeting on November 2nd, the HPC met and evaluated the Ramsey Fairley House. It received 41 out of 50 points, and the HPC voted unanimously to approve the house's historic landmark designation process. We have received the approval from the landmark designation report from the North Carolina Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. The HPC recommends the Ramsey Fairley House for historic designation by the Monroe City Council. And again, thank you for hearing us.
Okay, is anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition?
Somebody, the lady raised her hand about speaking.
I just lay in favor, it's my house.
Okay, very good.
I've been working myself to death.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second? Motion and second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you, Ms. Barber.
Being with us tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner, for what you folks do. We appreciate what you do.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming. All right. Item 13, acquisition of real property containing 1.29 acres located at 301 Kirk Street.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Stywinner, Director of Planning and Development with the City of Monroe. This is a request to consider land acquisitions for 301 Kerr Street, 220 Kerr Street, and 1610 2nd Street that contain multifamily apartment buildings and are located in the Concord Avenue Master Plan Study Area. City Council adopted the Concord Avenue Master Plan, formerly known as the Kerr Street Small Area Redevelopment Plan, in November 2015. The Concord Avenue Master Plan began with the intention to collect, refine, communicate, and execute a vision. The revitalization initiatives for this area actually began in 2005 out of concerns and complaints from the community regarding deteriorated, dilapidating dwellings, vacant and abandoned buildings, overcrowding, high crime, dead-end streets, lack of connectivity, and underutilized retail buildings. The master plan also included an action plan that provides a broad set of recommendations that includes additional detail in phasing, responsibilities, costs, and funding sources. The action plan for the Concord Avenue Master Plan recommends the following action: to establish a property acquisition program and to monitor the status of key parcels. Staff has developed that program and has been monitoring the status of certain parcels. Staff has identified 3 multifamily apartment buildings for purchase in order to implement the relevant goals and the recommendation of the master plan. The goal is to purchase and demolish the multifamily apartment buildings to improve safety and aesthetics, promote private investment and beneficial redevelopment, and further economic development purposes as authorized under the North Carolina General State Statute 158-7.1. The properties, once again, are located at 301 Kerr Street in the amount of $155,000, 220 Kerr Street in the amount of $152,000, and 1610 2nd Street in the amount of $111,000 to total $418,000. In 2015, when the Concord Avenue Master Plan was adopted, Council voted to implement the plan in a proactive manner and designated a project fund to begin the implementation process. The Concord Avenue Project Fund currently has $650,000. Therefore, if City Council approves the land acquisitions, the funding will be taken from the project fund. The General Service Committee was presented the land acquisition request at their August meeting and voted to recommend to move to City Council agenda for approval. Staff is recommending the purchase of the 3 multifamily apartment buildings in the amount of $418,000 to further economic development purposes under the General State Statute 158-7.1. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. Just from my own understanding, long ago, 2nd Street was in Paradise Heights. But this 2nd Street is in that area?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's 2 2nd Streets in Monroe.
I would assume so.
Okay.
I don't know how it got to be, but yes, it is.
Yeah, but I was born.
My question is, when all the paperwork is done, I understand you can't turn them down tomorrow. When all the paperwork is done, the dust is settled, how long will you think it'd be before they clean that up over there?
As far as these particular 3 parcels,
I know you don't know exactly, but what do you think?
well, if council approves the purchase and sale agreement tonight, it is listed in there January 1st, 2019 as the closing. So the goal is to close in the property within, if council approves it, within that month, and then we would move toward the demolition.
Okay, that's good.
Is the property owner been informed that this action's being taken, and have they agreed to the figures, or are they going to sell the property to us?
Yes, sir, they've already signed the purchase and sale agreement.
When we take possession of the property, will the property owner be responsible for having the properties vacated, inform the tenants that they have to move, so that whenever we purchase the property, we are purchasing property that is absent of tenants, so that we don't have to deal with any of that?
Yes, and that is in the purchase and sale agreement, and we've discussed that with the property owner, and that was part of the reason we put it out till January 2019.
Okay.
Who's responsible for the relocation for the tenants?
The property owner will be responsible.
Any other questions, Lisa? Thank you, ma'am. There's a public hearing. Anyone here who'd like to speak in favor? Anyone who'd like to speak in opposition? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and take action.
Move approved.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that will pass. Thank you very much. Item 14, Center Theater Science Center projects. Resolution authorizing issuance of obligation bonds. Lisa.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Lisa Strickland, the Finance Director for the City of Monroe. And tonight, City Council will be requested to take 4 actions, including adopting a resolution for financing, approving construction contract awards, and for both the Center Theater and the Science Center, and adopting a budget ordinance to facilitate the issuance of our limited obligation bonds for the construction. I'm going to provide each item, details of each item, beginning with the resolution for financing. Back in July, we held a public hearing and adopted the preliminary resolution to begin the steps to issue limited obligation bonds. This debt will be used to finance the construction or the rehab of both the Center Theater and the Science Center, and the demolition of the structures located near the Science Center and the paving of that same area. The debt will be secured by a deed of trust on the Center Theater. Tonight, staff is seeking approval of the approving resolution number 2018-51, that will allow the officers of the city to execute the documents related to the financing, authorize the use of the preliminary official statement and the official statement in connection with the sale and offer of the bonds, and authorize the officers of the city to act on behalf of the city in connection with this transaction. It is anticipated that the closing will be on October 10th, 2018. The next item is the bid for Center Theater. We did send out invitations to bid on the construction of Center Theater to 5 pre-qualified bidders. Of those 5, 3 bids were returned for our review, and Clearscape's architecture and staff recommend award of the construction contract for the Center Theater in the amount of $5,434,000 to J.M. Cope Incorporated. This bid award is contingent upon successful completion of the financing. The original funding for the Center Theater was approved in the total amount of $6,100,000. This consisted of $3 million from the city's general fund and $3 million from the financing and a $100,000 grant from the North Carolina Department of Commerce. The final estimates for the design and construction are $6,949,700. With this new total, a budget ordinance will be needed to increase the project expense budget and offsetting financing budget by $849,700 for the total financing amount of $3,849,700. The Science Center bids is the next item. We sent out invitation to bid on for the construction, the rehab of the Science Center to 14 bidders. Of those 14, on August 21st, 9 sealed bids were received, and Morrisburg Architects and staff recommend award of this construction contract in the amount of $3,322,000 to HM Kerm Corporation. This bid award is also contingent upon the successful completion of this financing. The funding for the Science Center was originally approved in the amount of $4,166,700, consisting of $1,166,700 from the Occupancy Tax Capital Project Fund and $3 million from financing. With the new project estimates, total construction will be $4,727,026. So a budget ordinance will be needed to increase this project expense budget and offsetting financing amount by $560,326. The funding for the demolition and the structures located near the Science Center was originally approved in the amount of $500,000. We do want to do some paving in that same area, so we increased that budget by $100,000 to cover some of this necessary work to beautify that area. Budget ordinance would increase the budget $100,000 for a total of $600,000. Funding for the estimated closing costs will also be needed. That is also included in the budget ordinance. The total amount of those closing costs is $205,000, and it would be divided between the general fund and the occupancy tax capital project fund proportionately. Are there any questions?
I have a question. The paving of the area by the Science Center, has that been put out to bid yet, or does the same HM Kern do that, the paving?
It'll probably be contracted separately, I would think, and we may consider internal staff to do that as well.
Okay, if not, I would like to be sure that we include, I don't know if these people are local or not, but I would want to make sure that local citizens have an opportunity for employment in these big projects, and to make sure that we have a diverse base, make sure that women and minorities also get some job opportunities.
And that's part of the, some of the contracting that was submitted in the bids is using local contracting, and they do have to meet the minority requirements of the city. So they have to make the effort and try to employ those.
Mayor.
Yes.
I want to commend Lisa, Brian, and Peter for the work they've done on this. Without them, this wouldn't have happened, and the gentleman sitting right here got all cranked up and started. Glad to have you here tonight.
Well, you know, and I agree with what you say, Lynn. I want to say, you know, from the time we talked about this, and I don't even know how long it's been, 18 months now or whatever.
It's been 10 years for me.
when we really got serious. Well, when I finally said, are we going to do it or are we not going to do it, if you recall, and probably 18 months ago, I don't know. What I'm trying to get to saying is Pete and Brian and the staff, and I've stayed on their back, and I know they know that. But we haven't missed an opportunity. If the door was open, we took it. What I'm saying, this thing is as up to date as it can be. We didn't wait 3 months to call somebody. Well, tomorrow we'll take care of this. When one door closed, the staff opened another, and I commend you for that, because I said when we started this thing, we're not going to take it and get one thing approved today and 6 months later, they've been right on the stick. Thank y'all guys for that, and I thank you for letting me aggravate you to death with it.
We better move it on so we'll be able to have
Well, that's exactly, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, I want to say that too, Lynn, and I agree with you. Staff have done a great job. This has been a lot of pain, and folks at the committees have done well. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed?
And just for clarification, that was to approve all items 1 through 4, is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
Thank you
Hey,
very much.
Bobby,
Thank you,
come up
everyone.
with the entertainment yet?
Sir?
for the opening night.
I've got that thing.
We're
It's not gonna
talking.
be you, is it?
No, it's not gonna be me. We won't have anybody.
I've got a couple things in mind, maybe for you anyway. Item 15, recommendation appointment and reappointment to committees.
Yeah, I'm going to fill
Thank you
in
folks for
for,
coming.
thank you very much. For Councilman Gary here. Majid, do we need to do these one by one, or can we do them as a group?
Just you read them out, and if they're, and then ask for approval of all of them.
Then I move that council approve the following appointments. To Downtown Advisory Board, Caroline Brown. The Monroe Historic District Commission, Michael McCarver. Monroe Historic District Commission, Javere Smith. Monroe Tourism Development Authority, Chris Redfern. Monroe Union County Economic Development Board of Advisors, Todd Shapiro. And Public Safety Committee, Iris Sherrod Sanders.
Okay, you heard the name, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. Thank you very much. Item 16 is public comment period. Is anyone here who would like to address the council? Public comment period. Hearing none, thank you very much. We'll close that. Go to item 17. Item 17 is closed session.
I move to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Section